So recently a user was asking about syncing projectile fire with animation events. And although it was possible in older versions, I figured I'd add a few little pieces of code just to make it easier to set up. So you'll now find on the shooting movements, there's a new checkbox called delay fire. And what this will do is it will prepare a projectile ready to be fired, but it won't actually fire it. And then what you can do is from an animation event, you can trigger the firing of the projectile, which means that your projectile can be perfectly synced with your animation. So on the movement, the only thing you need to do is tick this button. The second thing you need to do is set up your projectile. So this is a grenade that is animation synced. It's basically exactly the same as the normal grenade, except for there's an extra component here called visible components. And all of the child game objects have been moved into this game object. So that way when the projectile is prepared, it will be in the scene, but it won't be visible. That visible component is referenced in the projectile script here. And the only other thing we do for a grenade is because it uses a rigid body, we turn off the simulated checkbox so that the grenade won't move until we fire it. The third thing you need to do is set up your animation. So if we have a look at this throw animation, which is synced, the only thing we've done is added an animation event called fire prepared projectile. That means when we get to this last frame of the animation, the projectile will be fired. Finally, if your movement is not on the same game object as the sprite, then the animation event won't be able to make it to the movement. So to address that, we've added another component called fire enemy projectile from animation, which basically just listens for the animation event and sends it to the shoot movement. So you can either drag the shoot movement in, or if you don't specify one, it tries to find one in the parent. So with those 4 settings in place, we'll see that this enemy will throw projectiles at us, and that projectile is synced with the animation. If I pause it and step through, you'll see the animation starts, there's no projectile. And as we move along, when we get to the frame, you'll see the projectile has now appeared exactly where we wanted it. Of course, to sync the position, we use the standard projectile aimer. So I've just put a small offset in there so it appears exactly in the hand. And that's how we can sync projectiles with animation events.